it's part and parcel of prosperity.
Yes.
It's part and parcel of building anything that's worth building. It's part and parcel. Even if you are raising a child, the child doesn't become perfect in the entire duration of the child's life. There are certain moments of imperfection, but you don't stop loving your child. You don't stop supporting your child simply because they've made you unhappy around that period. So it's part and parcel of life. But of course, a lot of people run away from that. A lot of people are chasing happiness. They're chasing pleasure. But life cannot all be about pleasure, right? Even if you wanted life to be about pleasure, it's impossible for life to be about pleasure. It comes with the pleasure and it comes with the pain as well. So you've got to learn to accept both.
Why do you think the vast majority runs away from being uncomfortable? Because surely people have now understood. I mean, life is long. We all know that for you to get the happiness, there's a certain level of withstanding pain that you must go through. So then why do people keep rebelling that? Because the principle won't change.
Yeah. So I think most of the time you grow up with hopes, with dreams, wanting a certain life, wanting a certain lifestyle, whether that lifestyle is good for you or not. It's what you want, right? You get pleasure from ukruva, for instance. You get pleasure from drinking alcohol. But all of those things have got consequences, right? So there is no pleasure without a certain level of consequences. Any form of pleasure, right?
Sure.
So let's say you want the pleasure of a billionaire. Or to be a billionaire, you have to build a business, you have to hire people, you have to go through stress, you have to do taxes, you have to fight for your business. All of those things are what it takes, or what the price or the price of the decision that you've taken for you to be a prosperous person. Yes, you're going to be happy.
Sure.
But there's a cost that you're going to pay.
I got you.
Right? So, and in actual fact, if there was no cost, happiness wouldn't be called happiness. Because what exactly would you be happy about? You wouldn't have overcome anything.
Sure.
Right? The happiness comes after you've gone through the process, you've gone through the stress. You look back and say, wow, look at what we've built. Or look at what I've done. Therefore, I'm happy. You pass matric, you look back, you're like, I started from grade 1. I was persistent every year. Look at where I am. I'm happy. But it becomes short-lived. Immediately once you've achieved a certain level of happiness, it introduces another mountain that you have to climb. Now you've passed matric, you have to go to varsity. Or you don't have money to go to varsity. Or you're not passed matric, you wouldn't have that trouble.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So your conquering of one thing
opens up another trouble.
Another trouble that you must overcome. But that trouble in and of itself makes your life better should you overcome it.
Sure.
Right? Should you say, I finished matric, I don't have money to go to school, therefore I am going to get a job and work. So all of that now is the trouble you're going to have to go through. It's your path. But then you get used to working, you've got experience, you built up your savings, you start a business, you prosper. You hear people say, I didn't go to university, but I've got a degree. But they went through a certain level of learning, a certain level of trouble, a certain level of hiring other people, a certain level of stress. And the other guy as well, had money to go to school, also went through his own fair share of troubles, passing his first year, second year, third year. None of it was easy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, but all of that at the end produces a certain level of happiness for that person. So even if you are saying your life is all about pleasure, it's impossible. I did a bit of philosophy when I did my undergrad when I was younger, right? It's a fleeting thing, right? It's not something that you can sustain for a prolonged period of time forever. So it's momentarily.
Sure.
You're happy because someone gave you money. But even if they gave you money every day for the next 12 months, you will not sustain the certain happiness that you achieved when they gave you money for the first time.
Got you.
It's called the law of diminishing effect.
The
more you get this thing, the more it's like, okay, whatever.
I'm used to this.
Now you're used to it. That happiness that you had the first time, you no longer have it. You buy a car today. I've bought several cars in my life.
All of us.
You are happy.
Feeling 3 months later,
3 months later, now it's normal. It's like, whatever. It's a car. I need to maintain it. I need to take it to the car wash. Now that car that brought you happiness
troubles.
Of course, right? And if it's an expensive car, now it needs maintenance. Now it's more troubles than a guy who bought an i10 because you decided to buy a big Mercedes-Benz or BMW.
Yeah.
So all of it is just a decision to say, I'm willing to pay the price for the happiness that I'm looking for, or for the thing that I want.
Sure.
So maybe the biggest question to those that are watching is, whatever it is that you want to achieve, are you willing to pay the price?
What price has it cost to be a witness Mdaka?
A lot. I think it cost me a lot. One, I would say, before it even cost me anything, it cost my family something. My mother was a single parent. She was a nurse. My brother had just passed on then. She had her first stroke. Then it meant I had to step in and look after a sick mother. But that was not just a mother. It was a mother who also sacrificed so that I could go to university. It was a mother who also introduced me into the work that I do now. Many years ago, she introduced me into the property industry. It wasn't something she did deliberately because she knew. She also was taking a chance. Can this boy be somebody that's going to be responsible? All of that is part of what it took. I lost her along the way, right? But I still had to persist and persevere. You understand? I failed my first year, politics, philosophy, and economics at Wits, right? All of those failed businesses at some point is what it takes for one to become. And you must understand something, right? I'm still becoming. The question would be, what is it taking for you to evolve into the person that you are destined to become?
Sure,
right?
Sure.
So because if you say, what did it take for you to become Witness Mdaka? To another person, it's as if
arrived.
The guy has arrived.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like when I'm sitting alone, calculating everything that I'm doing, it's like sometimes I feel like I'm just starting. Sometimes I feel like only now have I truly understood what my purpose is. So it's about the willingness to go through what you need to go through in order for you to become the person that you need to become. So there's no becoming without going through. Right? So because becoming also speaks to, so we say, let me put it this way. We say so-and-so became a millionaire. Why do we say the person became? Meaning he's a different kind of human being than he was before. Because to have the millionaire status is not just about money. It's about the philosophy that you developed along the way. Jim Rohn says, if someone is gonna hand you $1 million, you might as well become a millionaire. Meaning there's a process of becoming. It's not the money.
Sure.
It's the process, the sleepless nights, the building of systems, the understanding of business, the hiring of people, and doing things in a certain way that ordinary people do not do. That's what makes you become that person. So if I look at, let's say, my journey, I'm an author, I'm a business person. At some point I was a youth pastor. I have a degree in ministry. I have a degree in business. I have a postgrad in project management. All of those things were helping me become. They were not me. It's stuff that I've had to do in order for me to find who I am or to get on the path of who I need to become in order to add value to society.
Sure.
So it's as if, excuse the pun, my life was being engineered.
Yeah.
So the process of becoming is also the process of being engineered.
Absolutely.
Into that person.
Sure.
Right? So if you say, for instance, engineer your life, you are saying become. Become.
Keep becoming, keep evolving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to become, you also have to overcome.
Yeah.
So there's becoming.
Yeah.
But there's also overcoming. What are you overcoming in order to become? So I'll give you an example. You could be two brothers, twins, and maybe like me, your mother dies and you are young and she was absolutely the love of your life. One guy can decide life is unfair. Drugs. And the other could decide life is unfair. I've got nobody. I might as well make my life work. Different kind of philosophy.
Sure.
Different kind of mindset. But all of that helps you become. One helps you become a drug addict. The other helps you become a responsible member of society. So whether we like it or not, we're becoming. We're engineering. We're all doing something that leads us into becoming somebody.
Yeah. How much of relationships do we have to sacrifice in the journey to becoming? We don't speak about the other side of being conventionally successful, where people see you with multiple businesses,
Yeah.
see you with a big team, a big staff complement,
Yeah.
see you not sleeping, see you on that stage, see you publishing books. There's
Sure.
a side that is quite painful and lonely, where there is a loss of relationships, or a refining of relationships, if I'd rather use that word. How much of relationships have you had to sacrifice as you are becoming?
A lot. So if you think about it, right, it's impossible to become without letting go.
Okay.
So John Maxwell says you have to let go to go up, or give up to go up. So there are certain relationships you'll have to give up. I remember when I decided to quit alcohol when we were younger, like around about 2021, then, right? When I quit alcohol for the first time, I started drinking again 10 years later, then I quit again. I don't drink now. But I remember when I quit for the first time, my friends and I had started drinking when we were about 12, 13. And when I quit, it meant I can't go play snooker with them, because where they're playing snooker,
There's
they're
alcohol.
drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
But I've chosen this other path that I think is the best path for me, meaning that decision is a decision to become. And one of the girls who are our friends, childhood friends, said, Mara, why aren't you coming with us? I missed you. So she was in UJ. She came back home. She's like, but I missed you. Why don't you come back with us? And my best friend said, we do bora nowadays. So you see, at that moment, you have to decide, am I going to please my friends? Or am I going to continue in my journey of
Sure.
becoming?
Yeah.
And it's the same in every area of life, right? There are people that you know that if I have these people who complain all the time around me, there's nothing that I can build, because I'm building a business. Maybe they're employed. They're complaining about their bosses. I'm a boss. I can't sit with people that are complaining about their bosses. I can't. You understand what I mean? Because I'm on the other side, whether I like it or not. But also, I also understand these people, because they don't understand. The boss is probably stressed about paying you. He's probably stressed about making the business work so that you can continue to complain about it. You can continue to have a platform to build something simply because that guy is sacrificing something.
Sure.
So there isn't anything that's big that you're going to build that you're going to not sacrifice for. And sometimes it also means personal relationships. Funny enough, yesterday, my girlfriend sends me a message at, what time? 10 o'clock at night. She says to me, are you still in meetings? I just ended my last meeting at 10 o'clock at night. And I said, okay, hi, Nana. No, I'm done, but I quickly have to rush to the office. I need to pick something up, and then I'm going to go home. So I got home at 11 o'clock. And that's typically what most of my days look like, right? So, and then she says to me, you are overworking yourself. So what do you mean I'm overworking myself? I don't see anything wrong with what I'm doing. She's like, I know you wake up early and you sleep late. And most of the time, even when you sleep, you toss and turn at night. So you are working even when you're sleeping. So you must limit on the work. Now, I've had relationships in the past that have had to end because I've decided I'm working, and the person would be like, but when do you make time for me? But I'll make time for you when I'm done with this thing that's in my heart that's important for me to do. You will not understand it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But also at the same time, I know if you are to abandon your purpose, some of those relationships won't work anyway, because they want somebody who pursues purpose and is at a certain level of life and in society. You know what I mean? So I would say, because I know you may be probably asking the question for the benefit of the viewer. I think once you've chosen a path to become, even those that are becoming along that path will be attracted to your path. So most of my friends are business people. Some of my friends go on with me on the EdProp Roadshow. Some of my friends are investors in EdProp. So So going out sometimes means, hey, can we hang out and talk about EdProp and what
Yeah,
we need?
yeah. It's integrated work.
Yeah. Then we meet. I'm having a drink with my friend. He's
Sure.
drinking whatever. I'm having my Americano. That's my go-to drink.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk. And I'm going
Yeah.
to say, hey, look, you invested X amount of money, but we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think? I know this guy is smart. That's why he invested. Now I get to benefit from spending time with my friend, but he's also giving me ideas on how to execute on certain things because he's got a vested interest in the business.
Sure.
He's an investor.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
And then one of my friends, Moloko, he's a credit repair specialist. He has his own business, but he goes on roadshows on EdProp. So I get to see him at the roadshow. So meaning that proverbial loneliness doesn't literally exist because
Correct.
everything is integrated.
Sure.
So we are friends because we're making money together, right? And there will be other friends where I say, like yesterday I was sitting with Pumlani. He was introducing me to funders when it comes to the property business. He's been in property. I've known him for 12 years. I met this guy because he was selling me a property. We became friends. So now, if I'm having a drink with him, we're having a drink, but we're going to discuss some of the stuff he's got. He'll say, hey, you know, there's this client who's selling this property, gupi. Do you want to have a look at it, Boon? I've got this deal. It looks like what you want to look at, what you want to invest in.
Sure.
You can look at it and I can introduce you to funders and you can do the deal. So I'm not lonely. You know what I mean? And of course, I've got a daughter, 7-year-old. I dedicate my Sundays to her. So when I got divorced 5 years ago, I was reluctant to go to church and whatnot. So relationships. So I meet this girl. She's an actor. I won't say who. So I start dating this girl, and she says to me, let's go to church. 100%. It's fine for you, girl. I go to church. So I go to church.
Anything for you, my love.
My love. So I go to church with this girl, right? What is that? It's part of becoming. So I go to church with this girl. And then she says, no, actually, I don't like my church. I'm going to go to, she mentions a white church. I'm going to go there. I'm like, I like your church, bruh. She's like, no, but they sing too much Zulu music. And I'm like, hey, but I like your pastor. The guy is smart. He's articulate. He's an chartered accountant. I like smart people. I'd listen to your pastor every day. Guess what? The girl leaves. We end up not dating anymore. So I take my daughter to the church. My daughter gets there. She likes the church. Now I'm in trouble. Every Sunday, my daughter knocks on the door. Daddy, let's go to church. Now I'm forced. So I said, okay, part of engineering is that I need to be a father. I knock off late most days in the week. So I can block out an entire Sunday. Don't phone me. Don't set up meetings with me. I'm with my daughter from morning to evening. We go to church in the morning. After church, we pick any restaurant or any activity she wants to.
Yeah.
We go do that. I'm engineering myself as a father. Because that's a different part of my life as well. But at the same time, I'm also anchoring the fact that relationships are not limited to only romantic relationships.
Yeah.
It's not limited to only business relationships. Sometimes it's what's your relationship with your kids, right? So I get to sit and observe my kid. How does she play with other kids? What's her thought process? What kind of stuff does she say? What are her beliefs? What are her values? What part of me have I transferred to her by just spending time with her? Like the little thing, like driving her to school in the morning, picking her up from school. This interview was supposed to be 2:00, right? I said, no, I can't do 2 because I'm picking up my daughter. I'm going to take her home. On the way, we chat, we talk. That's my time to talk to this girl. So girl, what's up? How's school? How are things? What do you like? What don't you like?
Yeah.
Daddy, I want 1, 2, 3. All of that, you are engineering your life. So you can choose not to do it. That's also engineering. When she's grown, and she hates you and she says, all you did was give me money. Brother, embrace it. That's the life you engineer. That's the life you gave yourself. So all of that, including relationships, you can also decide to go for somebody who doesn't like the fact that you're working, or you can go for someone who likes the fact that you're working. They're just concerned that you're overworking yourself. It depends.
They're just concerned for your health, perhaps.
Yes, because sometimes it's not that she's not saying, stop working, come to me. She's saying, but Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you healthy?
Yeah.
Are you going to gym? Are you eating healthy? You know, the other time I was so proud of my girl. She brings me meal preps. And she says, I don't want you to eat
Junk along the route.
Yeah, because you're always busy.
Yeah.
Put your meal preps there in the office. When you come back from a meeting, eat something.
Sure.
So, which means this person is not saying, Ibanami 24/7. And for me, it's always going to be, how does every relationship in my life support the purpose that I have? Because right now, the most important thing to me, I can tell you now, it's not my daughter, it's not my grandmother, it's not my girlfriend, it's my purpose. Am I fulfilling my purpose? Am I becoming, going back to becoming, am I becoming the person that I'm destined to become? It's not even about the kind of business I'm doing. For me, it's about, how is the business helping me become? Because at the core of who I am, it is what God sent me here to do, and I believe is to serve God's other children.
Yes.
It says, whoever wants to be a leader among you, if you read scripture, must first become your servant. Like, that's tough.
Yeah.
So to lead,
you must serve.
I must serve.
Yeah.
And what does service mean? And that's why customer service exists. It's not customer loyalty first. They don't become loyal to you because they like you. You serve. You give something to them first.
Sure.
That's worth giving. And out of that, they say, we are loyal. You know, this morning at gym, I met two guys. Both of them. First guy says to me, hey, you know, Witness, I've just moved to Kyalami. I was staying in Proteas Land because I followed your podcast. I read your book. I've got rooms. And because of you, I can pay for a house in Kyalami. And I'm like, I've never met this guy in my life. It's my first time seeing him. Then I continue with my set. Another guy comes and says, hey man, do you know I've got some houses in Cosmo City? And it's mainly because of following your work and what you've been teaching and at Prop. I said, I've never met this guy either. So meaning, whether I've met them or not, I'm a servant to them.
Sure.
I've done. You and I are sitting here having this conversation. We are not talking. We are serving. We are saying, how do we help the next person engineer their life and get better? Right? So if the podcast, funny enough, if the podcast did not resonate with me, I was not going to come.
Sure.
So it's mainly
back to purpose.
Yes. How does it connect to who I am?
Yeah.
Because I'm not looking for fame. I've never looked for fame. I'm not looking to be popular. The main thing is, how does what I do connect with other people, and how does it make other people's lives better?
Sure.
If I've done that, I've contributed something, I've served. Now, going back to using that principle in business, it's a lot easier to charge when you serve. When you serve better, people recognize that this guy serves us. Why do you think Mandela didn't need a private jet, but he could go on a private jet anytime? He didn't need to own it.
Yeah.
But do you think if Mandela needed a jet, he wouldn't get it?
Because of the level of service.
If you had a jet in Mandela's time, and Mandela needs to go somewhere,
you are jumping
would you
from
not
where you
give
are.
Mandela your jet? Why?
Yeah.
Servant.
Yeah.
Servant of the people. But there are certain leaders now, if they ask you for a jet while you have it, you only do it because this guy is going to give you a tender, right? You do it because you're looking for something.
You're looking for something.
But Mandela, you wouldn't have done it because you're looking for something. Why?
The depth of
What's
the
the difference?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
It's because he became. He became something. He became someone. He became a servant. So part of becoming is understanding that the world is not here to serve you. You are here to serve the world. That's the only way you can prosper.
Sure.
Right?